Hi, welcome to the new episode, Killing Time with KHAAL. Today we have a special guest, all the way from Singapore. Yes, Singapore, you heard it. So, a very underrated editor, zine, in the early 90s. The zine is Words of Fear. So today we have the main editor, which is Mr SHEIKH JAHEDDEN here. So yes, so basically this is his first issue, number 1. So without further ado, SHEIKH JAHEDDEN, welcome to my show. Okay, so please introduce to the viewer like who you are. I mean, firstly, your name.
Yeah, I'm Sheikh, 48 years old. This is my first issue of the fanzine I made in
What year?
1990. 1991. Yes, it was released in 91, but we started off in 1990. So basically, it's about the passions that we loved during back in the days, listening to underground music, particularly death metal.
Okay, that's it. Okay, for the viewers' sake, this is the second issue. So I just came to know this is the second issue. Press. What I came to know is that the front cover, the original front cover was Entomb, right?
Yes.
Entomb was at the front page. So Entomb. So he want to make the different for the issue number 2 to make it look different. So he did the revamp everything and stuff. Okay, let's begin. What make you wanted to make design? What drive you?
I think it's because during back in that time we have fanzines like Living Corpse, Ever Rotting, Fatal Overload. So I'm kind of like inspired to contribute something in the underground scene, particularly Singapore. So that is when I began to snail mail.
Okay, we stop there first. Snail mail. Okay, so back then with no internet, with no social media. So basically, as you already say that you already use snail mail back then. Yes. So that corresponds like how you manage, like, okay, is there any way that what makes you choose to sign that band or no, to write to that band? What kind of characteristic that actually attract you to actually write to the band? And
there's no specific
details
because we got to know some of these bands through flyers, and they were not even signed back then, still very new. Bands like Absu, Sentence, Crematory.
So based on the review you did here.
Yes, so particularly all these bands, they were not signed, very new.
So okay, how long does it take to do the process? Let's say talk about Crematory. How long does the whole process of writing, from you writing, sending them, or you immediately get the reply, or how does it?
It takes about 30 days, 1 month plus.
That is by straight away sending them question, or like today what we do,
sending and
receiving
gaining back the reply.
So there's no like early introduction like, hi, I'm blah blah blah, I would like to review your band. Then they reply. Then after that, upon replying, straight away you blab, straight away
I drafted the questions and
ask them for interview.
Go to them.
So there's no early introduction.
There's
like
no
I'm Jahedden. Very interesting. So so back then, of course, everything is in Xerox. You have to type up your own, right? So in other words, like, is this one man work or contribution of everyone?
It's a 2-man effort. One is another co-editor. He also contributes. His name is Sidek. We call him Boy.
So that's the early review. Yeah.
So, but I came up with most of the questions towards the bands.
So most of the question was done by you, and he's the one to help you to do the editing and everything. So who choose like the format, the size?
Myself.
Yourself.
Yeah, and we discussed about the format and everything. Both agreed to the size, and we do it. But this is not the original version of the original fanzine. This is a reissue of the first issue. So
And then
the first issue, the cover is an Entomb cover. It's
the whole lineup,
plainly black and white. Yeah,
fully Xerox, 100%.
fully Xerox.
Okay, how is important zine back then? I mean, coming from places, coming from an era with no internet, how important?
I think it's like a social media kind of thing back then for fanzines to spread the words of new bands to the masses, to the underground, so that everyone
the news gets
gets
spread
to know
widely.
all these bands.
So let's say for instance, this particular issue, how long does it take to get everything done? I mean, from planning up to
I think it's
the
like
actual product.
it's like almost a year.
A year,
Yeah,
a year,
Yeah,
a year
a year.
to get all this
Yes, with that.
with all photography. I mean,
Yes.
just does that include? But when you send for printing, does it
Yes, yes.
any
Inclusive
problem?
of that.
Any problem going in and out?
Of course, we are not satisfied with the final
Quality.
result of the photocopy, because back then the quality is not that good.
So how many copies was issued back then? How many copies was pressed? How many copies roughly?
I think it's about 100 plus maybe.
And how much was that back then? This
5 US. I think.
5 USD.
5 US.
And how was the response? I mean, roughly.
We didn't know how the response was like, but we kind of like sold everything, free fanzines to the
Photocopy.
bands involved. Yeah.
And okay, coming from here, right, I see that most of the time, coming that I know who you are, you love the Scandinavian scene and basically Swedish. Swedish, I think you are one of the guys who understands Swedish, like the early band and everything. List me 5 Swedish band that underrated that you think that they should be at better position. I mean, we put away this member. I mean,
There's a band called Obscene. I think they have a demo out called Grotesque Experience. They should be one of the forerunners in the Swedish scene back then, but unfortunately they only have one demo. Another band is called House of Usher.
Yeah.
I think they have related to bands like Crypt of Kerberos, and Crypt of Kerberos is one of the bands that I like back then. Yeah, but they also never make it. It became big. Eternal Darkness, one of the most famous death metal from Sweden. Another band is I would say Necrodex.
Necrodex.
Yeah, which is also good, but
Never make it.
Never make it.
So another one. We already 4. Another one. 5th.
I guess it has to be Nirvana 2002.
Oh,
They were also good, but no albums.
Melbourne. Okay. Back to the local scene. So I understand you are from the 90s and your scene was emo, and I understand you also played bands, multiple bands, not only Zine. So give me some of the bands that you played before. If you could remember or not, it's fine. Just like what kind of bands you played before, and just in a random. You don't have to go by the years. Any band that you can remember today now.
The first band was Cemetery, which I played with Oni.
Oni,
of
Yvonne.
Debauchery, of Yvonne. Also with Youth of Leviathan. So three of us, we started off Cemetery back then. Then I also played for Sadis. It's a two-piece band from Singapore. After that, I played for Demizo.
That's what I know.
In early 2000. And the last one was Chaos Regal.
Oh, so actually you play multiple of bands, and your passion also come towards doing Zine. So it's like everything, the best of everything in metal. So what are local bands that back then you think should actually make it somewhere rather than whatever you have to do?
I always loved Natameron. I think they were one of the best local bands during that time. Talking about 88, they were one of my favorites. They got signed to Peaceville, but they turned it down. And second is of course Abhorror.
Abhorror, obviously, no doubts about it. Abhorror, okay.
Toxomidon,
So,
Ignos,
you know,
and Leviathan.
Leviathan. Okay, we have the, I mean, coming from the 80s and then late 80s, 90s, right? I mean, we discussed it before. Like, how important a band to have a demo? I mean, back then, I mean,
I think everyone
how important it is as someone who have a band.
it's not really the importance of it. It's like everyone was so passionate about the underground movement, and it's like a must for everyone to have
To showcase.
to have a demo. It's like an introduction of what we are doing back then. It's also like a contribution to the local underground scene back then. Yeah, we don't really anticipate to go like
Big.
because everything was like DIY and so underground back then.
Until to a point where most of the demo in Singapore basically, or maybe other part of the world, it was a rehearsal. It was done in rehearsal in a cassette tape recorder, and later on was as a rehearsal demo.
Yes.
Right? Does that I mean, because of financial, or that's how it's supposed to be done?
I think most of the kids back then, they were like still schooling.
So how early was you when you start?
We were like 13, 14 years
13,
old.
14 years old.
So still schooling, and of course we don't
Financial was
we
very
don't have
tight.
money back then. So we just go to the studio, record everything. So we make it like a rehearsal demo.
So that's where, I mean, by then I understand that the satisfaction of doing it is so much that at least you accomplish something, because technology is not there back then. So by having a rehearsal demo and you release as a rehearsal as a demo is an accomplishment at least.
Yeah.
And coming to that, the inlay,
It's all hand drawn.
hand drawn.
It's all hand drawn on a piece of paper, cut and paste. It's totally DIY back then. Totally DIY. There's no like computer software. There's no computer software and everything.
So basically cut and paste from magazines.
paste,
Then you just the process is like
Correct.
photocopy, then come back again, go to photocopy shop, come back again.
Yes,
So that's how the days was back then.
correct.
Then your first show back then, how old are you? I mean, when you go to gig back then, and how big the scene back then?
16 years old.
Your first show.
I think it has to be the substation. I think it was a New Year Eve, and it's like a 24 hours kind of gig.
24 hours.
Yeah, on the New Year, I think, on the New Year Eve. So we have lots of bands, death metal, we have hardcore bands, indie bands, all playing at the same bill. In the late afternoon till the next.
Is it that how unite the metal scene back then?
It was very unite, and everyone,
As long as it's underground.
everyone knows everyone, from the hardcore, from the punk, from the death metal, from the black metal scene. Everyone kind of like
Together as a family.
knows each other.
Everybody is supporting each other. That doesn't mean
Yes.
you play black metal, only black metal will be there.
No.
Everybody will be there, even how so-called lousy to others.
I don't see like
Segregation.
segregations that going on back then. Everyone is doing their own stuff and supporting each other.
So that's the
how the scene,
unity back then.
That's the unity lah back then.
Okay, and then let's talk to back then. Understand there's guys from Timor, Agro, right? I mean, the segregation is like your hometown. That's how big the scene back then. Right? So, what are the else like? I mean, Agro is the one of the most famous we got. I mean, Temaron or whatever, it's too fast. So, beside that, I mean, which estate in Singapore that we have metal?
I think there's numerous
I mean, they come up with unique name.
residential back then.
And then come up with their own unique name like that, their own, their own ghetto, and like from Bedok Reservoir, Bedok North, they have Blaspheme.
Yeah. So for Gimo side, we don't have like Gimo Deathcore stuff like that. So we just a bunch of metal kids that listens to metal back then. But in Tampines, they have the Prodigals. Bedok Reservoir, they have Blaspheme. So for us, the Gimo, the Clementi, we don't have like
Your own specific name,
we
like
don't have any specific names for
for the title. So like forum, like we talked before, like you told me before, in forum on every weekend or towards the weekend, everybody will be there.
Yes.
sometimes you don't even know each other, but because of metal, you just let them be. Let them buy sitting there. So the atmosphere back then, like how many hundred people you can get in one weekend? Hundreds.
I never count actually,
but it's a huge amount of people.
Yeah, there's a lot of kids back then. We have people from Tampines, from Marsiling, from Yishun, from Geylang, from Clementi, from Timur. So everyone kind of like
it's like a hub.
It's like a congregation's weekend. No? Everyone is there every weekend.
Exchange music,
blasting to.
Like you say, another one group can blast on music. I mean, whatever music listening to radio, another group can have.
Correct.
So there's multiple different groups and different music,
and everyone knows each other.
It's connecting to each other, one way or another.
Yes.
A friend of a friend of a friend.
So if you release a demo back then, or you have a fanzine out, you bring all to forum gallery, and you can sell to everyone.
Yeah, it's easier lah. The marketing, everyone is there.
So all the transactions happen in forum gallery.
It's like cash on delivery.
Yes.
See that's how interesting the 90s. Like I always fond of the 90s. I only managed to be in the early 90s, 1994. So yeah, I get to witness Succession, Garden, maybe 3 or 4 times. Before that, everything moves elsewhere. Like Manchester 90. Most of the time, I go to the IT. So have you ever like went to some of the IT back then to witness yourself bands?
No. Maybe most of the time was Substation lah.
Substation.
Yeah.
So that's okay. Correct me if I'm wrong. Substation was the first place where Metal Hit was host.
I think before that was in Marina Square.
Yeah, and
then Paya Lebar.
Is it anything Sentosa? You know the Sentosa gig event.
That's one that happens in Sentosa. That was like in the late 90s, I guess. The Costa Sands, I think.
Costa Sands I was there, but I was told that there's shows in Sentosa where Sikanas was playing, the Malaysian band, Langsui.
Maybe yes.
Maybe you're already doing other else. It was interesting to know about the 90s. Like we have to actually uphold or keep this in the sense that for the future. I mean, for me, what I look is that somebody or someone has to speak up. I mean, you one of the contributors. I mean, yeah, your issue number one. Yeah, so what? But then again, it's very important. For me, it's very important. For me, for others, I do not know. Like we use the design. It's a proud thing. It's something to be proud. Like I always say to others, when I go to Europe, I meet people. They know Singapore. They know Singapore. They know Ebora. Singapore Ebora is just like brother and sister. You say Singapore, you say Ebora, or they say Ebora, you say Singapore. You say Singapore, where you say Ebora, they know Ebora. I mean, coming to me today. And like Zine, maybe if I go to Sweden, some of the Sweden band maybe know who we are. Still know we have a Singapore Zine, but what I'm trying to say is that we need to be proud of what we have here. I mean, the past creates the future. Without the future, there's no future. I mean, contribution like yourself put a lot of how they say, path to a lot of things. Like maybe back then you may not know. Is like you see, you got authorized here. You have lubricate. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. There's a lot of sentence back then when they're not even well known yet. See, Asphyx, the guys from Asphyx, I think maybe they know you a lot. This is Dormitory, Vital Remains. See, back then the band is not even anywhere yet. So your contribution is, although you may not feel it that way. For you is I'm just a magazine. Nobody gonna know me. I understand there's a lot of magazine editor until now, which is they don't want to actually, they just forget their past and they just want to stay like buried away. But then again, for me, whenever opportunity I have to take this opportunity to expose or to let people know that, hey, come on, you got someone who did design before. And this one was sold out, right? Like very fast, right? Towards friends and whoever have this issue back then, the first issue, they could have lost it, then they just buy the second issue, and so also supporting Sheikh here for design. So before I end this, I mean, the younger generation who have bands should actually acknowledge people like who done this before to our scene. So without further ado, I would like to say thank you for coming and for agreeing on this last minute. No rehearsal or nothing. And Thank you for watching again.